All right, now that we've cleaned up some of the small details, let's get to something that's a little bit more significant and a little bit more tricky. What we're going to do is zoom in on this area of the garment. And let's say that the client really wants a super clean line along this edge rather than having it puff out and have it be a little bit wrinkled. Well, here's what we could do. We could go ahead and create a new layer. Shift Command N. We'll name this layer C2 for Cleanup 2. We're actually going to use our Clone Stamp tool, and we're going to warp this by free transforming it. Check this out. So we'll press the S key to grab our Clone Stamp tool. Nice small little brush here. Option or Alt click on the top of the garment. Move over to the right, and we're just going to start to paint this edge in. We want to get a nice edge there, and we can bring in some of the garment so we have a nice part of the garment there. All right, so far so good. If we have too much, grab your eraser brush and just erase it if you brought in some of the arm. No big deal. Next thing that we want to do is use this edge, but use it down here. This is going to be kind of interesting. Let me show you what I mean. We'll go ahead and grab this, and we'll start to reposition it perhaps somewhere down here. Well, of course, the line doesn't follow really anything, but we can change that. Press Command or Control T to move this little point up to the top here, and we can start to rotate this so that it follows a bit more of this natural curve here, but it's not quite so fanning out over there. Press Enter or Return to apply. Next thing that we can do is start to free transform this in more ways. Press Command or Control T and then click on this warp icon. Now with this warp icon, what we can do is really extend this in some interesting ways, and we can change the shape of this. I'm just going to try to change the shape here just a touch. Modify this a little bit. Press Enter or Return to apply. Here's our before and after. You can see how it's bending out a little bit over here on this side. The next thing I want to do is just clean up this whole edge. So, Clone Stamp tool. Opacity real high, aligned, all layers. I'm going to Option or Alt click on the white background, and I'm just going to paint along this edge here. I'm going to do so to kind of remove a couple of those bumps there to get this to be really consistent. And because we have this nice white background, we can really start to remove this by simply bringing in that white over on top of the garment. And all I want to do is just try to find a nice edge that I think I could use in order to have some consistency across this. And I'll go ahead and just bring that in a little bit more there. I'm going to take out some of this edge here, just looking to try to be real nice and consistent and smooth. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's see how we're doing up top. So far so good. I'm just going to clean up a couple of these little areas as well. Just looking to have a little bit better lines along those edges. Now let's zoom out, see how we did. Here we go. Here's our before, and then now our after. Now the last thing we want to do is just go back and make sure there aren't any little bumps that are kind of giving away this edge or any difference in regards to the background. So grab the healing brush. With the healing brush, we'll go ahead and sample a nice area and then just look to paint over these areas where we have this transitional content, just so we have nice texture, nice even amount of our background. And again, we're just looking for a lot of consistency here. And let's take a look up close. Here we have before, and then we have after. Nice little structural shift. Now, if we want to mask any of this out, we can do so. Click on the Add Layer Mask icon. Grab your brush tool. In this case, we're going to paint with black. And all that I want to do is just mask out some of this, which came in on top of this garment here. So we can see it's kind of blending in a little bit more nicely. Press the X key. Paint back in a little bit more where needed. Just kind of going back and forth across these edges. X key and X key again. I think that's looking all right. Next, I'll grab the healing brush. I'm just going to go ahead and fix up a couple of these little wrinkles that I'm noticing. And I want to do so on my image layer. So I click on the image there and then paint. Previously, I was just clicked in the mask. I don't want to do this on the mask. We have to do it on the image itself. All right, I think that's nice. Let's take a look at how we've done with restructuring that edge of the garment. Well, here we have our before and then now after. Zoom in a little bit closer so we can see how that is before and after. Nice work restructuring that edge of the garment.